Tonight, the fear of toxic taps. The water crisis now covering the entire city of Iqaluit. Unsafe for consumption.
We suspect that there is some type of petroleum product that has entered the water system.
The warning that comes after a week of complaints. Escape from Afghanistan. A family out of hiding and Canada bound.
It will be a dream for me as well as for my children.
Growing anxiety for those still trapped under Taliban rule. Plus, a sumptuous feast for the eyes.
It was green gold everywhere. It was just absolutely spectacular.
The Northern Lights like they've never been seen before.
CTV National News with Lisa Laflamme. Reporting tonight, Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. A capital city in the rugged Canadian North is in crisis tonight, with a basic necessity of life now a potential source of danger. People in Iqaluit were ordered not to consume tap water for drinking or cooking until further notice. That ban includes boiled and filtered water. The urgent announcement in Nunavut's largest city comes days after people began to smell something like fuel when they turned on their faucets. CTV's Kevin Gallagher starts us off.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
That vote plunged Iqaluit into a state of emergency.
We suspect that there is petroleum, some type of petroleum product that has entered the water system.
Today, inspectors at the city's water treatment plant found evidence of potential hydrocarbons contamination.
Avoid swallowing this water. Pregnant women, newborns, and infants should not be bathed in tap water at this time.
The dire drinking water ban comes after residents complained about a gasoline or diesel smell coming out of their taps last week. Despite this, over the weekend, the city insisted it was safe to drink after test results. But late this afternoon, a sudden change, with the mayor telling residents, please don't drink the water.
There's definitely some anger and some mistrust, and there's always a mistrust with the government. It's unfortunate. I know that the response wasn't ideal.
These photos posted on Twitter show bottled water started selling out at grocery stores. One shopper saying it cost $56 for 2 cases of water. Others filled up canisters with untreated river water.
We're reminding residents that this water is not treated and that they should boil the water for 1 minute before consuming that water.
Iqaluit tap water is now only safe for laundry, cleaning, and showers, with warnings not to swallow it. Boil water advisories are common in the isolated city. The latest lifted last month after major upgrades were completed to the city's water infrastructure. Iqaluit has already trucked in drinkable water that residents can start picking up tonight. The City Council is also asking Nunavut and the federal government for emergency funding, Omar, to address the crisis.
All right, Kevin Gallagher on the water crisis in Iqaluit. The basics like food and electricity are in short supply in Afghanistan tonight, where the country is running out of cash and options. The European Union announced $1.4 billion in Afghan aid today, following an emergency G20 summit to discuss how to help ease the suffering without propping up the Taliban. And the vulnerable are still looking for ways to escape. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin has the story of one family that is finally free.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Safely out of Afghanistan now, the Kateb family is planning a life in Canada.
It will be a dream for me as well as for my children, because
Reza Kateb was desperate to flee Taliban retribution. He supported Canada's role in Afghanistan, working on projects to promote human rights, gender equality, and receiving an award from the former Afghanistan ambassador to Canada.
I'm scared.
CTV News spoke to him hours after he escaped the explosion near the Kabul airport in August. He had since lived in hiding, moving around the country. Kateb received help from the U.S.-based humanitarian group Afghanistan Transit Initiative and Canada's Journalists for Human Rights, as well as a CTV News journalist, to finally find a way out last night.
I feel sorry and sad about the rest of the people who lives under the Taliban.
Among them, there's a Canadian citizen named Wasai Rahimi, who ran for Kitchener City Council and under the NDP banner in the 2019 federal election. He says he went to Afghanistan in June to work on a project to help vulnerable women enter the workforce and is now trapped on the run from the Taliban.
One night they come and surrounded my brother's home. They beat them up and asked them to show my whereabouts.
He's frustrated, saying Global Affairs has done too little to help him get home to his wife and 7 children, while conditions in Afghanistan are deteriorating by the day. The World Food Programme says only 5% of households now have enough to eat. At the G20 Emergency Summit, the EU pledged more aid. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the world has nothing to gain by letting Afghanistan's economy collapse. But the Taliban continues to refuse to budge on issues including allowing girls in schools, a key demand of the international community. This has left countries like Canada facing a dilemma, just how to deal with a regime they don't recognize, while so many Afghans are still struggling and so many are still looking to leave. Omar.
All right, Jen, still a relief for Reza and his family. They are now safe, and that's because of the hard work of so many, including Journalists for Human Rights and Afghanistan Transit Initiatives. Both groups rely on the generosity of donors. If you want to help more Afghan families, we have a link at ctvnews.ca. There is late word tonight the U.S. border will be open to vaccinated Canadians early next month. Some members of Congress say the Biden administration told them the 19-month-long shutdown of the land border will end in November. Canada began allowing vaccinated Americans to cross in August. A major vaccine deadline came into effect in British Columbia today. Staff at long-term care homes have to have at least 1 dose. While across the country, more than 82% of eligible Canadians are fully vaccinated. 96% of BC long-term care workers met today's requirement for at least a single shot. But that still means 2,000 vital employees are now on leave. A top NBA player is also off the job because of New York's immunization rules. CTV's Allison Hurst on vaccine mandates.
Irving banks it in.
One of the NBA's biggest stars won't be on the court at the start of the season.
If he was vaccinated, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Brooklyn Nets point guard Kyrie Irving has refused to confirm his vaccine status. So the team sidelined him, saying he will not play or practice until he meets that requirement.
Kyrie's made it clear that he has a choice in this matter, and it's ultimately going to be up to him what he decides.
This is a team sport. Getting a vaccine is not a personal decision. It's a collective one. You get vaccines not to just protect yourself, but to protect everyone around you.
That's now a requirement for long-term care workers in BC.
Few know better than those working in long-term care and assisted living what the impact of COVID-19 has been on our seniors and elders.
As of today, nearly 2,000 workers who haven't had their first dose are off the job.
Long-term care workers who have received their first dose can, in certain circumstances, work pending full vaccination as long as they get their second dose within 35 days.
There is concern it could lead to staffing shortages for a sector already struggling to fill vacancies.
It's putting a lot of pressure on our vaccinated staff to fill these shifts, and that's not sustainable.
Quebec is dealing with similar concerns as Friday's deadline looms for all healthcare workers to be vaccinated. Here in BC, children between the ages of 5 and 11 can now register for their first dose pending Health Canada approval. That age group is also part of a newly expanded health order. They must now wear masks in public. Omar?
All right, Allison, thanks. BC is not the only province announcing new precautions tonight as the fourth wave continues to spread. Across the country, there were over 2,300 new cases reported today, along with 69 deaths. The rapid rate of infections in New Brunswick has forced the province to move its hospitals into a red alert. CTV's Atlantic Bureau Chief Todd Battis on what that means for patients and healthcare workers.
With over 1,000 cases and projections of a sharp increase, New Brunswick is struggling to get a grip on COVID.
The Delta variant during the fourth wave of the pandemic has hit our province much harder than previous waves.
Hospitalizations are up, with 27 patients in intensive care. Some hospitals are at or near capacity, stressing the healthcare system. To free up emergency staff and space, hospitals have been put under red alert, threatening to postpone non-urgent elective surgeries.
The rate is concerning. We aren't at the point of in a crisis, but we're pretty close. Right now we're managing, but we can't take an influx of much more.
Nearly 82% of New Brunswickers have both shots. Still, 32 of the 109 people reported ill today are fully vaccinated. The province's top doctor warned anyone unvaccinated is 18 times more likely to become severely ill if infected with the virus.
I'm concerned about those people as individuals, and I'm concerned for their families who might be worried about them as well not being vaccinated.
Vaccination clinics open over the long weekend did brisk business.
It's a long time coming for me, I guess. I have to do it for the kids, really, just so I can take them places and not miss out on any of that stuff.
The surge may be the result of opening the borders in July or social gatherings. The province responded by basically canceling Thanksgiving, restricting family dinners, even travel.
For the next 2 weeks, hospitals will remain under red alert, which will also affect ambulance services and ban most people from visiting patients, Omar.
Todd Battis in Halifax tonight. The Major General who led Canada's vaccine rollout but was removed during a sexual misconduct investigation has lost a legal fight to get his job back. Today, a federal judge ruled Danny Fortin should have filed a formal complaint with the military before going through the courts. Fortin is facing a sexual assault charge over an incident in 1988. He denies the allegation. In the UK, a scathing parliamentary report has concluded the government's delay in imposing COVID lockdowns cost thousands of lives and will rank among England's worst public health errors. But a cabinet minister refused to apologise.
Of course, if there are lessons to learn, we're keen to do so.
While largely critical, the committee did praise the research, development, and rollout of vaccines. There is a major development tonight in a criminal case that has captivated the world and the internet. That is where travel blogger Gabby Petito shared much of her life. Today, a coroner revealed the cause of her death. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin has that story.
Gabby Petito's mother and stepfather sharing a moment at this New York memorial for their daughter, learning just today how she died.
The cause, death by strangulation, and manner is homicide.
Limited by law, the coroner couldn't say much. Petito's body was found in the wilderness near a national park in Wyoming last month.
I can tell you the DNA samples were taken by law enforcement, and all I can tell you about remains is that the body was outside for 3 to 4 weeks.
Gabby Petito never goes outside. The 22-year-old was documenting her adventures online on a cross-country trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. In August, they were stopped by police, alerted by a traveler who saw them fighting.
We want to know the truth if he actually hit you.
I guess, yeah, but I hit him first.
Petito is emotional and distraught, but police let them go.
She gets really worked up. And when she does, she swings and she had her cell phone in her hand, so I was just trying to push her away.
Laundrie returned home to Florida without Petito. Hiking last month, he never returned. And the search has created a frenzy among internet detectives to dog the bounty hunter.
This would be and could be a perfect spot for him to hide.
But the spotlight on this one case has many asking, what about others who are missing, especially people of color?
It's unfortunate that these other deaths do not get as much coverage as this one. I'm assuming that because the deceased was a blogger, that this received more coverage than others.
Petito's family is urging Laundrie to turn himself in. He's wanted for questioning and charged with fraud using a credit card the FBI believes was Gabby's. Omar?
The search intensifies. Joy Malbin in Washington. One of the most prominent coaches in pro football is out of a job tonight. John Gruden has resigned from the Las Vegas Raiders over emails he sent using racist, homophobic, and misogynistic language, which critics say is just a symptom of a wider problem within the NFL.
Making sure that the coaches that they hire, the players that they draft, the organizations that they form are being inclusive, are being supportive, and are held to that standard not just when things come to light, but all the time.
Gruden's offensive emails date back at least a decade. Time for a short break, but when we come back, a landmark delivery. drone transport for an organ transplant, plus the walk at Westminster and a royal accessory revived. There is some promising new buzz tonight for the thousands across this country on long wait lists for life-saving organs. In a world first, a Canadian team has sent donor lungs to another hospital for transplant by drone. CTV's medical specialist Avis Favreau on the high-tech and high-stakes door-to-door delivery.
It was a very small 5-minute drone flight with a very big mission. The cargo box contained a set of healthy lungs delivered from Toronto Western Hospital to transplant surgeons waiting at Toronto General.
Can you see it?
Preparing to give them to a man dying of lung disease.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's so cool.
Well, that moment was breathing a sigh of relief because, we'd done it, when it had landed safely and everything was good.
It's the first double lung transplant using drone delivery. More proof that it can be done, says the Quebec company behind the technology.
It's a first of in the world, and it's a life you're carrying in the air in a fully automated concept of operation. So you got to have some courage. So you need to really focus 100% on that super critical first long drone flight.
The drone is electrically powered and was designed to carry 6 kilograms while holding fragile lungs which need to be kept cool. And the recipient, fittingly, is an engineer who dabbled in drones himself.
I was thrilled. I thought that's amazing, advancing technology. They asked me if I wanted to participate, and I said, absolutely.
When I saw the video of the drone, I was like seeing our life beginning again.
There's an international race underway to use the drones for medical transfers to boost speed and to lower the cost.
The routine right now is we use a Learjet to transport a lung which weighs 2 kilograms, okay? That's like a $20,000 flight and a lot of jet fuel.
And the goal is to expand organ transfers across the continent, saving more lives with some high-flying technology. Avis Favreau, CTV News, Toronto.
And some high-flying technology helped a Vancouver boy get to his life-saving treatment today, too. And hundreds of students, teachers, and parents were there to see him off. 12-year-old Nick Cannon climbed aboard a shiny red Ferrari and led a fleet of supercars to hospital for his 12th and final round of chemotherapy. Nick was diagnosed with soft tissue sarcoma. The community gathered today to support him on the final leg of his medical journey.
He is so loved, and it's just people having the opportunity to show up. If you give people the opportunity, I believe in the good of the magic of the world, and this is where it comes to.
And he is smiling.
Oh my God, he is magic.
Nick will spend nearly 3 weeks in isolation as part of his chemo treatment. Great smile, brave little guy. The Queen attended service at Westminster Abbey today, marking the 100th year of the Royal British Legion. She was spotted using a cane. The last time Her Majesty, who is 95, publicly used a walking stick for support was after knee surgery almost 20 years ago. Well, it may not be palatial, but a Newfoundland couple has gone to great lengths to find their castle. The family that floated this idea for their dream home. A deadly tropical storm in the northern Philippines triggered landslides and flash floods, killing at least 11 people. Emergency responders staged a series of daring rescues across raging floodwaters. Nearly 7,000 villagers were forced from their homes. A century-old home in Newfoundland slated for demolition has been saved by a woman and her boyfriend determined to preserve a piece of history.
They were going to tear it down. We called them up one day and we said, we heard that your house is being torn down. Can we take it off your hands? And they said, sure.
Danielle Penny had always loved the two-story structure, but didn't have the deed. So she decided to move it.
At first, we wanted to do it on land, but we had so many obstacles that we had to face. We had to take down power lines, and that just wasn't an option.
Floating it down the Bay of Islands was the next best thing.
There was a whole community that helped.
Everybody came to help.
Everybody did. I think they felt what we were feeling. So much help and so much love from the community.
A delicate operation carried out on Thanksgiving Day. The couple grateful their gamble paid off. And in the West, it was a fast-moving object from the heavens that forced Golden, BC's Ruth Hamilton to leap out of bed as she was sleeping. Turns out a meteorite crashed through her ceiling and got lodged between two pillows on her bed, narrowly missing her. Fortunately, she's doing okay. She plans to keep the rock as a reminder of her meteoric reflexes. Pretty close call. And we have another cosmic smash hit after the break. The dazzling display as the northern lights take over the sky. We leave you tonight with a spectacular sight as the Northern Lights put on a rare show for more southern sky watchers. Large parts of North America had front row seats to a mesmerizing display that lit up the night sky. CTV's John Venevali-Rao on the stellar spectacle.
Look at how crazy it is over there, too.
While stunning displays like this are often seen in the Arctic, for the Northern Lights to be visible from the center of cities and towns further south was something otherworldly.
Went outside to the front of the house and it was like, holy.
Dan Davies is a BC politician who snapped this photo from his home in Fort St. John. He then drove a few minutes out of town.
It was just absolutely stunning. And we weren't alone. Like there was the side of the country road that we went out on was just full of people. They had their lawn chairs set up behind their pickups with their hot chocolate.
A sight that danced across the skies in southern Manitoba and that produced no end of amazing shots.
That was last night, 2 miles from my house.
Justin Anderson snapped this incredible image near Brandon.
You kind of feel hypnotized almost just by watching it, just because you can see the aurora dance.
The lights could even be seen from Vancouver and as far east as New York. This picture taken on a commercial flight over the northern U.S. While in the Northwest Territories, Aaron Tambour said he'd never seen so many people out taking photos and mesmerized by the motion.
They were just moving almost like a flag in the air or a big scarf or something like that floating around the air.
The show was particularly good because of a strong ejection of solar particles that were sent flowing into the Earth's magnetic field. This shows just how much of the country could see the resulting light show. So brilliant, some even captured it on their doorbell cameras.
This by far was one of the more spectacular displays.
Tim Yaworski is with the Royal Astronomical Society in Saskatoon and says he was awestruck.
It was a case of you didn't know where to look first. It was literally wrapping all around you.
A display that dazzled for those lucky enough to see it. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Takes your breath away, nature's masterpiece. And that's a snapshot of this Tuesday. For Lisa and all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Have a good night.